Nanda and Lancelot stood before the shimmering pool, its waters rippling gently in the stillness of the chamber. As they drew closer, the pool began to glow with an ethereal light, its surface rippling with images of a hidden chamber, its walls adorned with ancient inscriptions, beckoning them forward, inviting them to explore its depths. The air thrummed with a palpable energy, a sense of anticipation hanging heavy in the air. The scent of incense wafted from the pool, mingling with the musty odor of ancient stone and the metallic tang of forgotten magic. "This pool," Lancelot began, his voice hushed with awe. "It feels alive." Nanda nodded, her fur bristling with a sense of anticipation. "And powerful," she added, her eyes fixed on the pool, drawn to its enigmatic aura. A voice, deep and resonant, echoed through the chamber, seemingly emanating from the pool itself. "The path to the Grail lies through this chamber," it said, "but only those who possess a pure heart and a clear understanding of faith can unlock its secrets." Nanda and Lancelot exchanged a determined glance. They were ready to face this challenge, to prove their worthiness and continue their quest for the Grail. With a shared breath, they stepped into the pool, expecting the familiar sensation of a temporal anomaly, a swirling vortex of colors and lights. But what happened next was completely unexpected. The pool's floor seemed to vanish beneath them, and with a sudden lurch, they plunged down a steep, seemingly endless drop. Nanda yowled in surprise, clinging to Lancelot for dear life as they plummeted into the darkness, the rush of air whipping past them. Lancelot, his heart pounding in his chest, instinctively wrapped his arms around Nanda, shielding her as they fell through the abyss. He had no idea what was happening, but his instinct screamed at him to protect Nanda, to keep her safe from whatever awaited them at the bottom of this unexpected plunge. Water fell all around them, like a waterfall, blurring their vision, the roar of the descent filling their ears, drowning out all other sounds. Nanda squeezed her eyes shut, her mind reeling with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the freefall ended. They landed with a splash in a rushing current, the force of the water propelling them forward into a winding tunnel. The walls of the tunnel were smooth and slick, the water carrying them along at an exhilarating speed. Nanda clung tightly to Lancelot's back, her claws digging into the folds of his armor as they twisted and turned through the tunnel, the momentum of the water sending her heart into her throat. The water roared around them, echoing through the confined space, creating a symphony of rushing sound that drowned out all other thoughts. Lancelot, his grip firm on Nanda, leaned into the curves, his instincts guiding him as he navigated the twists and turns of the waterslide. He felt a thrill of exhilaration mixed with a healthy dose of fear, the unexpected adventure adding a spark of excitement to their quest. The waterslide plunged them deeper and deeper, the darkness growing more profound, the rush of water intensifying. Nanda kept her eyes closed, bracing herself for the unknown, trusting in Lancelot's strength and her own resilience. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the wild ride ended. They were ejected from the tunnel, splashing into a vast open expanse of water, the surface shimmering with an ethereal light. Nanda gasped for breath, her fur plastered to her body, her eyes wide with surprise as she took in her surroundings. They were in a massive cavern, its walls adorned with glowing crystals and shimmering mosaics. The water was crystal clear, revealing a breathtaking underwater city, its structures rising from the depths like a forgotten civilization. Lancelot, treading water beside her, looked around in awe. "Where are we?" he murmured, his voice filled with wonder. Nanda, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, gazed at the underwater city, its beauty and mystery beckoning them forward. "I don't know," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, "but I think we've found the lake." They swam towards the city, the water offering little resistance as they moved through the ethereal glow. The structures, crafted from a luminous white stone, seemed to shimmer and shift in the underwater light, their intricate carvings and delicate arches hinting at a civilization of advanced artistry and architectural prowess. As they neared the city's entrance, a grand archway adorned with symbols and runes, they noticed a shimmering distortion in the water ahead, as if a hidden doorway were opening before their very eyes. Lancelot, his hand instinctively reaching for his sword, swam closer, His eyes narrowed with caution. "What is it?" he whispered, his voice barely audible above the gentle lapping of the water against the ancient stones. Nanda, her senses heightened, felt a tingle of anticipation mixed with apprehension. "I don't know," she replied, her voice hushed with awe. "But it feels powerful." They swam through the shimmering distortion, their bodies passing effortlessly through the veil of energy that separated the underwater city from the rest of the cavern. As they emerged on the other side, a gasp escaped Lancelot's lips, and Nanda's eyes widened in disbelief. Before them lay a breathtaking sight, a city of such splendor and magnificence that it seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The city, bathed in a soft, ethereal glow, was a symphony of light and color, its structures crafted from luminous coral and shimmering crystal. The streets were paved with smooth, pearly stones that glittered like 1,000 stars. Strange, luminescent creatures, their forms graceful and ethereal, swam through the waters, their movements a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. Lancelot, his voice filled with wonder, turned to Nanda. "This is incredible," he breathed, his eyes wide with awe. Nanda, equally mesmerized by the city's beauty, nodded in agreement. "It's like a dream," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the gentle hum of energy that permeated the water. Suddenly, Nanda's voice broke through her awe. "How are we breathing, Lancelot?" she asked, her eyes wide with confusion. They were submerged, but she could breathe as if the water itself was part of the air they were used to. Lancelot paused, then looked around at the water that surrounded them. "I think it's the city," he said slowly, eyes narrowing in thought. "It's as if the water has been altered somehow. Maybe it's filtered. Or there's some kind of magic here that lets us breathe without any effort. Talk too, it seems." Nanda looked at him, still unsure, but the impossibility of their situation faded as they continued to swim effortlessly through the water, the air around them seeming to pulse with the same rhythm as the city itself. "I always wondered," Nanda said, her voice thoughtful, "how it feels when fish swim. Because surely they can't be aware of the weight of the water, just like we can't feel the air. So when they swim, I always wondered if it feels to them like they're flying. Have you ever wondered that, Lancelot?" Lancelot glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "I've never really thought about it that way," he said, his eyes still wide with wonder as he glanced around. "But now that you mention it, maybe they do. Maybe it's like they're swimming through their own version of the sky." Flying, Lancelot, not swimming, it must feel like they are flying. They swam deeper into the city, their movements guided by an unseen force, their hearts filled with a sense of wonder and anticipation. The city was eerily silent, the only sounds the gentle lapping of water against the buildings and the soft, rhythmic pulsing of the ethereal light that bathed everything in its glow. As they explored the city's winding streets and marveled at its intricate architecture, they came upon a grand temple, its entrance guarded by 2 imposing statues of knights clad in shimmering armor, their swords raised in a gesture of protection. The temple, crafted from luminous white stone, seemed to radiate an aura of ancient power and sacredness. Nanda and Lancelot paused before the temple, their gazes drawn to the intricate carvings that adorned its entrance, symbols and runes that hinted at the mysteries hidden within. A sense of anticipation hung heavy in the air, a feeling that they were approaching the culmination of their quest, the final confrontation with the Grail. With a shared breath, they swam towards the temple, their hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As they neared the entrance, the statues guarding the temple came to life, their eyes glowing with an ethereal light, their swords lowering to bar their path. "Halt, seekers," a voice boomed through the water, its tone deep and resonant, filled with an ancient authority. "You have come far, but the final trial awaits you, a test of the very essence of your being." Nanda and Lancelot exchanged a determined glance. They had faced many challenges on their quest, but this final trial would be the ultimate measure of their worthiness. The statues stepped aside, revealing a hidden chamber behind them, its entrance shrouded in shadow. "Within this chamber lies the key to unlocking the Grail's secrets," the voice explained. "But only those who possess a pure heart and a clear understanding of faith can decipher its message." With a shared breath, they stepped into the chamber, the shadows closing around them, the weight of their destiny heavy on their hearts. The chamber was small and dimly lit, its walls adorned with a single inscription that glowed with an ethereal light. The voice echoed from beyond the chamber, its words filled with a solemn gravity. These words hold the key to your path. Decipher their meaning, and the way forward will be revealed. Fail, and you will be forever bound to this place, your quest for the Grail forever thwarted. Nanda stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the inscription. The symbols seemed to dance before her eyes, their meaning elusive yet tantalizingly close. She felt a pull towards them, a sense of recognition that defied logic and reason. Lancelot stood beside her, his brow furrowed in concentration as he tried to decipher the strange symbols. "I don't recognize this language," he admitted, his voice laced with frustration. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." "It's not like any language I've seen either," Nanda agreed, her tail twitching nervously. "But I feel like I should understand it, like it's speaking to me somehow." She closed her eyes, focusing on the inscription, letting the symbols wash over her, seeking the deeper meaning hidden within their intricate forms. A sense of peace settled over her, a calmness that belied the urgency of their quest. And then she heard a voice, a whisper in her mind, guiding her, illuminating the path. "The words are not meant to be read, Nanda," the voice said, its tone gentle and reassuring. "They are meant to be felt, to be understood with the heart, not the mind." Nanda opened her eyes, her gaze fixed on the inscription, her heart open to its message. And as she looked, the symbols began to shift and change, their forms morphing into familiar shapes, their meaning revealing itself to her like a blossoming flower. She saw images of children, their faces filled with innocence and wonder, their eyes reflecting the purity of their souls. She saw them playing, laughing, and learning, their spirits unburdened by the weight of the world. And she understood. The inscription, now clear in her mind, read, "Jesus saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, 'These nursing babies are like those who enter the kingdom.' They said to him, 'Then shall we enter the kingdom as babies?' Jesus said to them, 'When you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female be female, when you make eyes in place of an eye, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom." Nanda, her voice filled with a newfound clarity, turned to Lancelot. "The inscription," she explained, "it speaks of the kingdom, of the purity and innocence required to enter it. It speaks of the need to shed the burdens of the world, to embrace the child within, to see with the eyes of wonder and act with the hands of compassion." Lancelot looked at her, his eyes wide with surprise. "But how?" he began, but Nanda silenced him with a gentle wave of her paw. "I don't know how I know," she admitted, "but I do. The inscription, it spoke to me, to my heart." The voice faded, its final words hanging in the air, as if they had become part of the space itself. The stillness that followed was brief, shattered by a sudden shift. The chamber quivered. No, not quivered. It strained, as if the very structure of the room was bending under an unseen pressure. Then the walls started to fold, crumpling inwards like crumpled parchment, the air around them thickening, distorting in odd, unpredictable ways. A new passage appeared before them, not through a door, but as though it was a tier that had been stitched together and now unwound, opening into something else entirely. The tunnel was a void that didn't seem to belong to the same world. There were no walls, no sense of direction. The space before them was a whirl of moving forms, geometries that bent and folded in on themselves. Impossible shapes existing in an endless loop, stretching out, reforming, and disappearing into each other. It was as though they were not moving through the tunnel, but experiencing it, the very nature of time and space being distorted around them. The light was uneven, sometimes flickering like an old film reel, other times a steady glow, yet no discernible source for it. The air was thick, not with humidity, but with a strange pressure, like being underwater, but without the weight. The tunnel wasn't just a place they were traveling through, it felt like something alive, in flux, constantly shifting, always different with every passing moment. Their movement wasn't guided, they were not pulled forward. It was as if the tunnel was listening to their thoughts, pushing them toward an unknown destination. not with force, but with curiosity, as if it was guiding them into its depths, simply to see where they would go.